Hey everyone, so originally I had this whole song parody of the JG Wentworth commercial to open up this video, but then I realized I nor anyone I know could afford or even have the talents to make such a parody, so here's some Rumbly Tumbly.
Oh, yes, I'm rumbling my tumbly. Time for something sweet. I am short, fat, proud of that, and so with all my might, I up, down to my appetite's delight. While I up, down, touch the ground, I think of things to chew, like honey and milk and chocolate. With a hefty, happy appetite, I'm a hefty, happy poo.
With a hefty, happy appetite, he's a hefty, happy poo.
We have fun here, don't we? Hey everyone, it's the Koopa Man. If you couldn't tell by the meme-tastic intro we had, today we're going to be talking about exclusives, specifically how they're harmful for the consumer and for the industry. Now, you know the kind of exclusive where a console manufacturer builds an in-house game or develops in-house game studios to make games just for their console, or how a struggling developer goes to one of these companies and asks for assistance with publishing costs? Yeah, that's not the kind of exclusive we're talking about. No, this is going to be a different kind of exclusive. The kind where slimy, opportunistic, yet uncreative companies give a developer that already has paid for their publishing costs in completing their games a lump sum in exchange for limiting their market potential. Sort of like JG Wentworth.
Call J.G. Wentworth, 877
Now, the debate on exclusives has been raging on for a while, since the announcement of the Epic Game Store at the latest, and lately it's coming down to straw manning, most notably in favor of the exclusives, but not always. The term PC socialist has been used because socialism is when larger market share. Yeah, I don't get it either. And it really stems from ignorance on the topic of why it's the case, not helped by companies like Epic and Sony spreading lies about how the practice works to muddy the waters. So let's clear things up, shall we? Like I said earlier, exclusives mean two different things depending on who you ask. The definition of whether it's a first or a second party studio involved is the one that most are familiar with. And for good reason. That's how exclusives were handled for the longest time for the most part. It's what made consoles worth buying because the in-house teams made sure to develop killer apps by the time the consoles came to market. Yeah, expect to hear that word pop up a lot. Console, as that's the gaming setup used by those who don't mind exclusives. It was the main driving force of the so-called console wars of who had the better games on their system. And when games were developed or published in-house, it made sense. Sort of like how Microsoft Windows used to come with copies of Microsoft Office Home, or when Macintosh Apple computers came with iTunes, I think. Whoever even owns a Mac, tell me, because I'm sure it came with something. The thing is, of those still fighting the console wars, who can even tell me what the exclusives were for the PS4 and the Xbox One? I'll give you a minute. Yeah, not that many. Frankly, some of those weren't even all that good. Really, the main killer apps for both were multi-platform games available on all systems anyway. And of the exclusives you got on the side of the Xbox, you got Halo, Gears of War, Killer Instinct, and Forza, which all also came to PC, and a handful of console-exclusive indie games that were from acquired studios. And over at Sony's San Francisco headquarters, you got Last of Us Part 2. Real talk, does anyone even play this game unironically? Get that shit out of here. But you also have Yakuza, Persona, and Bloodborne. None of these Sony had any hand in developing or publishing, just paying the companies that made them for exclusivity deals. Not even the PC is safe from this, with the main issue being the Epic Game Store that Tim Sweeney uses money he gains from his investors at Tencent to make exclusivity deals for his storefront. The most controversial being Shenmue 3, a game that had been crowdfunded, at least for its publisher cost, paid for by Sega and the mainstream, and backed by the fans, and promised to be ported to PC via the Steam storefront, only for the director, Yu Suzuki, to sign a deal with Epic to make the game exclusive and thus screwing over its backers. And it isn't even the only crowdfunded game that did that. Look, it shouldn't be considered socialist to say that screwing over your consumer for the sake of backroom deals is a bad thing. Roll up acquisition number 95, expand or die, and I'd hardly call a Ferengi a socialist. No, this is just short-sightedness on those involved in giving their games over as these exclusives. Really, if they had faith in their product, they would have made it available on as many storefronts as possible, I mean, if I had a factory that produced delicious cookies but only sold them at Target in exchange for them giving me money up front, it'd in the long run limit my profit potential. Not everyone has a Target in their neighborhood, nor would be willing to drive to the next town over just for some cookies, especially if they aren't the best in the world. And games that become exclusive this way aren't those kinds of cookies. I mean, no mistake, Persona 5 and Bloodborne are good games, but worth paying $500 for a machine just to play them? This could be seen as a big reason why some of these games take these deals. Lack of faith in the product mixed with short-sightedness and greed. Going back to Shenmue 3 for a second, we waited 20 years for a Shenmue filler episode, and that seems to be the case with many Epic Game Store's exclusives. Why take a risk on a game you lack faith in when the Honey Bear is offering you cash now? At the end of the day, I may not have convinced everyone, I don't expect to. It is going to be a discussion that will go on for as long as there are video game consoles and video game companies. But if enough of you are able to take a step back and think critically about this, and understand this isn't just an issue of gamers being greedy or entitled, maybe realize that the kind of people who suggest this sort of thing, maybe we can get closer to a better industry for the gamers. Because after all, no one benefits from us infighting more than those like Epic and Sony, who will continue to make bad deals to screw us over, knowing they have armies of blue hairs and ponies to defend them no matter what.
Don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next product.
This has been the Koopa Man. Game on. Oh hey, a text from Gonzalez. See what he says. A video about crunch culture. But I don't wanna.